Funny. Okay, well, welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I'm back. I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
Yeah, we took a little detour last week because we had some...
Detour?
We had some...
You needed four-wheel drive and a winch, and...
We had...
Corey, I love you, but whoa.
We had some scheduling issues with trying to get Oktoberfest,
recorded.
Get at least some of that ready to go, so we're ready because Oktoberfest will start this Friday on the 1st. The first episode will come out.
October is here.
It's so awesome that we're right here getting ready to go into October, but that also means that Christmas is right around the corner. So.
Did you say the word?
Dude, look.
Did you say the word?
You saw my post.
Yes, I did.
I walked into Lowe's the other day, and they already had Christmas trees up. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Now, they did the same thing last year, because it's funny, because on my Facebook feed, I had the day after I posted that, was 1 year ago, where I had posted something almost identical from where they had already put up the stuff.
I don't know what you're talking about, because I had one pop up from like 7 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Like the same day you posted that one.
So angry when they do stuff like that.
Screw you, home improvement stores.
Yeah. And
retail in general.
Yeah, no joke. But
I expect to see Valentine's Day just any day now.
Man, no, because they are pushing Christmas like you wouldn't believe.
You said it again. Stop it.
They're pressing that red and white holiday quite. I guess red, white, and green holiday. The green and red holiday. I guess I don't know. Because Valentine's is more of a red and white holiday. I guess it's red, white, and pink, but
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that, we had some time, and Corey had come over here a little while back and wanted to sit down and record, and like, all right, fine, I got some time, and so I figured, well, we've got this one.
I promise to try to not miss any more episodes. I promise.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Oh, you got a whole new heads on there, don't you? My son is here tonight. He's playing with his Legos, so we'll probably hear from him from time to time about all of his creations. But, yeah, we...
the drive over here was a little funny.
Yeah, let's just...
Sorry,
that's fine. Go ahead. That's fine.
So, I had to get rid of my Spotify for a while, and I went over to the free version for a while with the commercials and all that news. But when I deleted my account, I lost my Halloween playlist.
Oh, okay.
So I've been having to rebuild it a block at a time. And on the way over,
you could have gone back to our old episodes and found some of that stuff.
I tried to find that episode and I couldn't find it. So we're going to have to talk after we get through doing this. But I had a bunch of Alice Cooper rocking. And I had the windows down. My ears are a little blown out right now because I had the radio in the car so loud.
Right.
And I'm sitting at the stoplight, singing along with Alice Cooper. And suddenly I realize I'm getting some really strange looks from the cars on either side of me, because the song I'm singing at the top of my lungs is "I Love the Dead."
Oh, okay.
And if you're not familiar with this song,
that is I love the dead when they're cold. And exactly.
It's very much a Sam Kinison reference.
Oh, that was when Alice Cooper really. They went from being the band Alice Cooper to being Alice Cooper.
Yeah, that's the $1 Billion Babies album.
And that's which we talked about that here a little bit before, or maybe it's on an upcoming episode or something, where we talk about how Alice Cooper went from being, they were just pretty much a straight ahead rock band that had some darker elements. You know, that was, you got to think like their first couple songs, their big hits, the School's Out and I'm 18 and
We've got a long way to go.
No more Mr. Nice Guy and Under My Wheels and stuff like. And it was all very straight ahead rock and roll type stuff. And then there was The Turn, which is probably the $1 Billion Babies album,
probably,
which had Cold Ethel and it had I Love the Dead and
the ballad of I can't think.
Yeah, I know. So it's one of those things where he really started leaning into the. Oh, we're going to be horror.
The horror shock
rock type stuff, and so it was.
But I had like little ladies and mothers with children, car full of children, and I'm sitting there. I love the dead. I'm getting it's all been Halloween playlists since first.
I get it, man.
October.
I tell you, here in Nashville, the 22nd was October, was autumn.
Yes, that's also me and Miss Nay's wedding anniversary.
Dude, like clockwork.
Yep.
We woke up that morning and it was like, oh no, it feels like fall. Like it had been warm all the way up until that, and that day, man, it was like, okay, the high was like 60 degrees.
No, the high was 68 degrees.
It was 68, okay, but the low was like in the
40s.
Yeah, I know, and it was like, okay, this is nice. It's time to pull the hoodie out, and it's
Of course,
I'm all for hoodie season. So.
Yeah, and it's coming back into the 80s now.
But
we're about to get into Indian summer.
We knew that was going to happen though, because it always does.
Yeah.
It will cool off, and then it'll get hot again, and then it'll cool off. Same thing happens in the summer or in the spring.
Yeah,
it'll warm up, and then it'll get cold again, and then it'll warm up, and it'll stay that way. So.
Yeah, I need two things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I need the weather to turn off to be actual fall.
Okay.
High of 65.
Right.
With frost on the car every morning.
I can do without that.
and I need daylight savings time to go away.
We got until November for that though, so
I know.
It is getting darker earlier still. I mean, that's the whole thing. Look, the whole notion of daylight savings time kills me. Okay, in the state of Tennessee, was it 2 years ago? They passed in the state legislature to basically just have year-round daylight savings time.
No.
Yeah, it was, and that passed in the legislature.
We need to fall back and never spring forward ever again.
Here's the thing, though, is that it passed, but notice that we haven't done anything in 2 years. And there's a reason why, because there's a federal mandate on that we have to actually get permission because of interstate commerce. And so it's one of those things that it can happen because it's happened in other states and cities and stuff. So it's kind of one of those things that's kind of like sitting out there. Again, it goes back to if they stay on daylight savings time, you're not gaining an hour of anything.
Well, there's a meme out there that has the Indian chief that goes, only a white man could think he could cut an inch off of the top of a blanket and sew it to the bottom of the blanket and think he's got a longer blanket.
Right, exactly. And that's the whole thing, is it's like whether or not that, if we stay on where we are presently with the daylight savings time, as we're recording this, it's like 6 o'clock in the evening and the sun's going down. Yeah. Okay. The thing is that all the way up through December, that's going to get earlier and earlier no matter what. Even if we don't take that hour, like we don't fall back, it's still going to start getting, like, yes, it might get darker a little later than it would if we do the fallback, but the thing is that it's also going to stay darker in the morning.
Yep.
Like the sunrise is not going to come up. It's not going to be as early as it would be otherwise.
All I'm saying is I want my hour of sleep back that the government stole from me, and I never want to have it stolen from me again.
But you're not really losing an hour of sleep. It's just you're losing an hour of sunlight. That's the difference.
Okay. Somebody who has to get up every morning at 4:30 in the morning,
I imagine
when I have to do that spring forward,
I imagine that
wrecks me for 2 months solid.
Well,
and I don't feel right until I get that fall back.
I get it because I have issues with that as well. And I know it all has to do with the
circadian rhythm.
Is it circadian? It's not circadian. It's because you're talking about cicadas. We're not talking about circadian.
It's circadian rhythm.
Is it circadian? Whatever, however you pronounce it. It's still one of those things that I know it has to do with sunrise and sunset and all that kind of stuff, because that's going to... As a matter of fact, there's
that spring forward screws with my insomnia for days on end.
There was a book that was just put... Weinstein, what's his name? Weinstein, the doctor... you know who I'm talking about. The one that's kind of it, but the thing is him and his wife, Brent Weinstein, that's who it is, just released a book. Him and his wife wrote together. They're both, PhDs, kind of stuff, and it's all about like sleep and that kind of, and basically says what the findings are that if you miss sleep, like if you miss a significant amount of sleep, it takes up to 4 days for your body to actually start. Even if you sleep normally for like the 3 days, whatever, it's still 4 days before your body fully recuperates that missed sleep. And I'm like,
it's actually 2 months for me.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, but it's one of those things where it's like, look, I know when I was younger, I used to try to sleep as little as possible. I mean, I thought I really and truly bought into the whole like, hey, coffee is a substitute for sleep, which is not. First off, let's put it this way: coffee is no substitute for sleep, and if you're staying up drinking, then you need even more sleep than you needed if you just stayed up.
And besides that, you obviously didn't pay attention to Nightmare on Elm Street because, you find out real quick the coffee didn't help very long.
Well, yeah, and it's apparently Freddy comes into your real life eventually, so the waking nightmares and stuff. So
you get the right kind of coffee and you can see the future.
Oh man, I'm telling you, we did a whole episode about insomnia back a couple of years ago when we first started this thing, and you go back into our archives and see Dave and I's sleep woes, and without getting back into all that again. But we're right here, right on the precipice of Oktoberfest. Like I said, when this is going to go up this evening, and then you'll get another episode Friday. Because it is October 1st.
You get 2 episodes this week.
And you'll start going forward.
You are special children.
2 episodes all the way through October. And we do we want to kind of lay out what we have, or do we just want to, we can kind of and we don't have
kind of tease you about Oktoberfest.
We don't have
I got to do this once. Oktoberfest.
All right, get it out of your system.
Yeah, get it out of my system.
There you go. So it's okay. I'm glad you feel better now. So.
I'm a sucker for a good sound effect.
We have, of course, I'm going to have to go and look because I don't have all of them written down here. But we have on record.
What we got recorded already?
That's what I was going to do. I was going to pull up and see what we already recorded. We're going to have a special guest. Miss Ariel is going to be with us. She's a new friend of the show. And that was an episode we just recorded last week, and it's about working in Halloween retail.
And that's lot of other things.
That's where it started, and it wound up all over the place.
We started with a topic, to coin a phrase.
Yes, we started with a topic, and then it just kind of went at that point. Let's see. We are going to be covering. This is the ones I have written. We're going to cover The Witch, the A24 movie from 2015, I believe is when it was released.
Yep.
We're going to cover Halloween Kills when it's released, and on October 15th we're going to go see it, and then we'll come back with.
I might take the day off that day.
We're going to cover A Nightmare on Elm Street. We're predominantly going to cover the first movie, but we're going to cover the entire series.
Well, I fell down a wormhole.
It doesn't. It's like. And then there's one that I'm still putting together, which is about horror anthology television shows. And it's going to be one of my in-depth things that I do.
I'll just be along for the ride on that.
We also have, we are covering the movie Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. That's the whole name of the movie. That's an interesting one that a lot of people don't know about. We'll give our opinions on it. We're going to do an episode about last year we did our favorite 80s horror movies.
Yep.
This year we're going to do our favorite 90s horror movies. And
I still got to put that one together. Yeah.
We already recorded it.
See, this is why I need more sleep. This is why I need more sleep.
Go ahead and put that one back together, Dave. And we are also going to do. And this is another one we've already recorded. We are going to be talking about the recently released trilogy of movies, Fear Street. That was by R.L. Stine. That was released to Netflix.
The book series.
It was a book series. Netflix did a trilogy of movies, and they released them within a 2-week period of each other, like one a week. And it was really, really cool. And that's what I'm trying to see if we have anything else. I don't know. We may. You never know with us. We might, decide, hey, we're going to do an extra bonus episode or something. But that's all. That's everything we've got so far, or that we've got coming up. We haven't recorded all of them as of yet. That's we're gonna have another good year of Oktoberfest, and of course, make sure and I'm putting all these plugs in. We're only like 15 minutes into this thing. But make sure, all throughout the month we will be uploading, stuff to our Instagram and Facebook and Discord. Trying to get a lot of people over on Discord.
We're over on Discord. You can actually chat with us directly over there. It's really easy. It's a lot of fun.
Miss So, we're happy every time that you interact with us over there. And she started off on YouTube. Like the first time that I heard from her,
Oh, nice.
And then when we jumped over into Discord, come to find out, she was already following Gen X Grown Up, so it was kind of oh look, hey, so
nice.
So yeah, that's so we're pulling people in from all sides into something, and
we've got some other folks over there. I was going to see who else was over there.
I know, it's funny because like Dave and I both were kind of with Discord. We were kind of like, "What is this thing?" Because we kept hearing about it, especially from the Gen X Grown Up guys. John's really big into it, and that was kind of a
Stu Baca.
Stu
Baca is following us over.
Yeah.
He's over on our.
What's his name following us also? I don't know. Anyways, we've got some people who are following us over there. We would
shout out to Stu Baca.
Yeah, we would love to get that thing up and going, and just really so we just started, so we weren't expecting like everybody to rush over there or anything.
No, and hey, you don't even just have to talk to us. You can talk to everybody else on the channel.
Every time I get on Discord, it seems like I discover something new that you can do over there.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things where you can do like subject, like different subjects, like you actually have like basically a message board just for that.
Yeah, which I've been setting up.
Yeah, we've got several things, and not just the podcast. You can get on there, you can talk about movies or your favorite comic books or your favorite arcade games or whatever it is.
I actually set up a voice channel for music one day, and I was just over there playing music off of Spotify directly to the. Yeah,
see, again, did not know you could do that.
It ties directly into Spotify, and I was just sitting. In the server over in the voice channels, I was actually building Halloween list. And
nice. So see, there you go. So you can go over our Discord and you can listen to all that stuff.
You can come over there and help me build my Halloween playlist.
And but we're gonna have throughout the rest of the year in general, we've got some more stuff. We're working on some other people coming on the show, as well as other podcasts, and which I've talked about a couple times on here. I want to get more of those in the can before I actually release them, because it's hard enough getting this show out every week, but to do multiple shows, even if it's like once a month, it's like no, because I have to get this, because when I sit down, like the first episode is going to be my buddy Rob Rushing, and he's got a really great organization that he's one of the founders, called Punk Rock Saves Lives.
Yep.
That they raise awareness for a bunch of different issues. Originally, I got involved with it.
From what I understand, they partner with other nonprofit organizations to help them get their message out.
And it's one of those things that they do. They go to a bunch of like rock shows and sporting events and different stuff like that, and they'll set up. And really, all it is just more of a. It's not like they're not. You can donate money, but they're really trying to say, hey, check this thing out. It started off trying to get people registered for the National Bone Marrow Registry, to help with cancer, that kind of stuff. Try to find matches, and in a different organization, and they're still doing that. They're still working with the labs and everything that they're working with there, but they're not with the same organization that they used to be, doing that. But they also do other stuff. There's a lot of other things out there that and it's really kind of a cool thing. But like with him, Rob and I have known each other 20 years, and we just kind of sat down, turned the mics on, and then next thing you know, 2.5 hours are gone. And so it's kind of like Corey last week. I cut that down quite a bit, and it still was 2 hours long.
Yep.
And so it's one of those things that something like that. If I sit here and record for 2 hours straight, that means I've got to go back and listen to 2 hours, not counting any other production that goes into it. So that it's very time consuming. So I'd much rather have several in the bank. That way I can just kind of okay, here, this is ready to go, this is ready to go, and I'm not scrambling trying to find I'm still trying to schedule this thing and that and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But there are other people that we got going.
It's harder to do when you're trying to set up with somebody else and do an interview.
Now with Rob, it was one of those things that it was cool, because he happened to be in town, because he does not live here in Nashville. He lives in Colorado. And so it's one of those things that he happened to be coming through, and he had some time. He was basically in his camper van, was parked in my driveway, and I'm like, hey man, whenever you get finished eating or whatever it is, come on in here and sit down, and we're just going to talk. And he came in and sat down, and we talked for 2.5 hours.
Nice.
I've got one with my best friend Kim.
Yep.
I think we talked for like 3 hours or something like that.
We've got to go over. We've got to record your buddy at the tattoo shop.
We've got to go over and talk to Jason. We got to. There's several. I've got another like a local a musician, a singer songwriter here.
Absolutely.
That Dave and I both like, and I just happened to run it. Like literally, just happened to run into her one day, and I think I scared the crap out of her because I'm like, "Hey, and then she's like, "How do you know that?"
You're a stalker.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, no, it's not like that. I'm a big fan of your music. It's like, and she's agreed to come on the show as well. But it's nice. Scheduling, and that type of stuff. So yeah, it's a.
And you may hear me in the background on some of those because he's already looked at me and said, "Well, you're going to be doing the production.
I'm going to need production, and." As well as any number of people. We've already talked about, and of course you haven't heard her on here yet, but we've already talked about bringing Ariel back.
Yeah.
Whenever she, as time permits. Ariel, what did I say? Ariel.
Yeah.
Sorry, she. I think she corrects me several times in the episode on that as well.
She is going to end up cutting you and using you for Halloween
She's
decorations.
Pretty fierce, man. I'll give her that.
Or using what's left of you in her business endeavors.
Exactly, and she's got some interesting stuff that she's working on. So yeah, it is. We've got stuff in the can. Obviously, we don't have anything for this week because we're
just sitting here.
We
riffing.
Are sitting here kind of riffing and talking about what's coming up, and wanted to get you guys an episode to let you know what's going on. Of course, like I said, we kind of took last week off, or at least half of us took last week off.
I took last week,
but again, that was something that we already had in the can. Like I recorded that a month ago probably, and
it definitely was in a can.
Did not know what I was going to do with it. I didn't know if I was ever going to release it. It was just kind of okay, but I was like, hey, I got this thing, so we'll go ahead and put it out there, and Corey can feel famous for a little while. So
dude, we got to talk. We got to get you a setup so you can start your own podcast.
Corey really needs his own podcast, like just Corey, and he can bring in whoever it is he wants to talk to, and then they can sit there and just BS for hours.
Yep. Yep.
And it'd be his show and not have to have anybody kind of try to rein him in on anything. So it's
what we need to do is I need to win the lottery, and
either one of us for that matter,
replace all of our equipment and just donate this equipment to him.
I swear that is,
it's up to $500 million.
I know.
Right now.
One of them is, the other one was just the Mega Millions was one. Was it the Mega Millions?
Yeah,
or Powerball?
It was the Mega Millions.
That's right, because Powerball is still up. Yeah, that's right. Mega Millions was at 400 million or something.
No, it's at 500.
No, I mean the Mega Millions was at 400 plus and somebody won it last week. It's funny. Okay, this is one of our whatever episodes. It's funny. I remember when the lottery first came into Tennessee because we didn't have it for the longest time. It was one of those things. Kentucky had it, and so whenever it would get up really high, people would go across the border and buy tickets, and I actually used to know someone who won one of those, not like one of the really big ones, but that had won like $10 or $12 million. $10 or $12 million is still big, but it wasn't like one of the 100 million ones, and that was a big thing. Whenever it hit 100 million, people would be like, oh, and now 100 million's nothing.
It hits 100 million on a regular basis.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's just kind of like, okay. And, it's funny because every time, because it used to be one of those things that when it would hit 100 million, I knew all kinds of people were like, well, it's finally worth going and buying a ticket. And I'm like, are you telling me that, winning $20 wouldn't be worth you going to buy? Because I don't know what world you live in. That's. Yeah. But that was the thing. It would hit 100 million, and all of a sudden everybody would like, oh, we got to go buy these things.
Even if you win it, you take the buyout, you get half, and then the federal government takes the other half.
Well, okay, so I did some research on this, okay? So, basically what
first off, it's a stupid tax.
It is a stupid tax, it really is, because your odds of, you have better odds of being struck by lightning twice than you do by actually winning the lottery.
Yes, you do.
So, it's one of those things where, and I found this out because I was interested in this several years back, not from actually playing it, but I was just curious because I'd always heard all this stuff either way. Okay, first off, so let's say you win $100 million. Okay, we're just nice round number 100 because that way we 100 is easy to get percentages and stuff. Basically, what it comes down to is that in order to get $100 million, they have. What is it? It's like 50. Is it 55% of it? I think, or something like that. That's actually like put into a trust that's going to gain That's basically over a 20-year period will get to $100 million. Okay.
Right.
So if you take the buyout,
yeah,
it is more than half. What, buddy? Oh, you okay? Yeah. Okay. Come here. Bring it here. I think we have a boo-boo. Uh-oh. This is always one of the fun things with...
Should we take a break?
Nah, he'll be all right. He's not crying. It's okay.
So,
anyways,
you do
basically
get over half, but it's not by much.
No, and another thing is that the amount of money that you actually get, they've already taken the taxes out of it. So it's one of those things that you don't have, that's one of the good things with the lottery is like they're always like, look, this is how much you're going to owe the federal government. We're going to go ahead and take this out. So this is how much money you're actually going to wind up with.
Yeah, okay.
Now, that is only the one time. The next year, because there's probably going to be interest on that as well as anything else that you make, you're going to have to pay taxes on whatever. Okay. One of the other myths that was going around for the longest time was that, let's say you win $100 million, okay, and you get that, and you take the 20-year, the payout over 20 years, okay,
yeah.
So which before taxes is $5 million a year, basically, okay, and of course, then and the thing is, they're going to tax you on that because you actually get $5 million, and they're going to tax you on that $5 million every year for 20 years, okay, rather than just taking the one lump sum amount out of that, which is something you have to deal with. The thing that has always been the lie that has been permeated with that is that if you take the 20-year payout and you die, then none of that money goes away. That's not true. That money can be willed to your estate, your family or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those things that I'm sitting here going, if I win $500 million, I'm not going ahead and forfeiting 45% of it right up front. I'll take that $500 million over 20 years.
No, I'm going to take the lump sum right up front.
But think about it.
And I'm going to invest it in a way that I want to.
That's fine and all, but think about it this way. So if you've got...
You got to also realize that is some kind of government-run entity. And if the government decides, hey, we want that money.
But that's with anything, though. But here's the thing, is that if you win $500 million and you take the 20-year payout, that's $25 million a year that you're getting from them. Okay?
Yeah.
Granted, taxes and all that, of course, there are tax shelters and, and all that kind of stuff.
But,
there are plenty of ways.
They pay you $25 million, and after the government the government takes their share, you get like a nickel.
Well, yeah, that's the government though. It doesn't matter if you're getting $25 million, you're getting $25. They're going to take more than their fair share.
They're going to get their 3.5 pounds of flesh.
That's just me though. I'm like, I can't see winning $500 million and then saying, okay, I'll only take $260 million. I know $260 million is a large amount of money.
Yeah.
But you're also willingly giving up $240 million as well. And I'm like, I cannot see doing that for me.
Well, it's the difference.
Also, the fact having not the same people that I was talking about before that I knew that had won, because they actually did pretty well. Like, they got a financial planner and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Grand scheme of things, they won. I think they won that in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. And let's say they weren't. They worked at they were members of a country club I used to work out. And nice people, extremely nice people. But everybody always was really fast. Oh, they won the lottery. And they acted like, oh, they won the lottery, and they're cheapskates. It's like, no, they're not cheapskates. They're keeping they're being smart with their money.
Yeah,
there's a difference. Okay, I do know someone who was a friend of a friend who won a large sum of money in the Georgia lottery.
Yeah,
and it ruined them.
Well,
yeah, buddy.
I need it.
What do you need? You need talk. Hold on, we're going to pause this just for a second.
Time out.
Because we have to have a talkie break. So hold on. And we're back. Sorry, I had to do a snack break because I forgot to get the snacks together before. It's very important. What was it? Okay, so
but it ruined them. But
it ruined them. Like they wound up divorced. I mean, like literally, it's one of those things where there is a very well documented demise for people who win the lottery. Like a large percentage of people who win the lottery just.
They say that money and pressure will show you your true character. Mm-hmm. You only become more of what you already are.
There's some of that. There is also, I have always said that the first phone call that I would make if I won the lottery was to my lawyer. Second one would be an accountant. Yeah. And the thing is that I know someone who is an accountant who I trust that I would. And that's the other thing. You better make sure you have somebody you trust because there are way too many stories across way too many fields of accountants that have absolutely, just embezzled all kinds of money. But the thing is that what people don't understand is that two things happen when you all of a sudden come into a large amount of money. People come out of the woodwork asking for money.
Yep.
For all kinds of things, whether it's a long-lost relative you haven't seen in a long time who needs help, or it's somebody who's got a sick kid that needs, or whatever. I mean, it's any number. Charities come out. Everybody all of a sudden is like, hey, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And the other thing, especially with certain shadier people, if they can't get it from you that way, all of a sudden there's a lawsuit.
Yep.
And they're hoping that you'll settle more than anything. It's going to wind up costing you money regardless, because that's the whole thing. Somebody files a lawsuit against you, even if it's baseless, you still have to pay for lawyers and and all that kind of stuff, and pay court costs and blah 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 blah. And it's one of those things where that will cost you money just as fast as if you actually lose a lawsuit.
Yep.
So it's kind of one of those, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't in this situation. My personal, if that happened, man, I would buy a large plot of land in the middle of nowhere and build my compound.
Yep.
Full recording studio, full like everything, and just like, I see you guys later.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's just, I'm kind of, even with not having a large amount of money, hoping to do that one day, it's a,
yeah, that would be nice.
But, it is also one of those things, and you're right though, it's, if you make bad decisions without a lot of money, you're going to make even worse decisions with a lot of money.
It only amplifies what
really
you're already doing.
It really does, and it's just it's one of those things. I know we were kind of off on a thing here, but I know
it's a no topic.
It really is, and there was a time in my life where I really, and I still do. I haven't bought a lottery ticket in forever. I couldn't tell you the last time I bought one.
It's been a while.
I was going to say, whenever the lottery first came to Tennessee back in 05, 06, somewhere around in there, 04, 05, 06, somewhere around, I don't know, somewhere in the early 2000s somewhere. It was one of those things where it was like, all right, that's cool. I don't care. I don't play the lottery, so it's not a big deal for me, I would buy a ticket whenever it would get up.
I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, I need that $2.
Yeah, well,
I'm like that kid off of that movie.
First,
I want my $2.
It was $1 to begin with, and then it went up to $2. And I know there is some, with the Hope Scholarship and different things like that, there have been some things that money has gone to that has helped. We also know that the person who was the head of this lottery, the commissioner here or whatever, is making a crap ton of money. That finally came out a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
They caught a lot of heat for it. It was like, what did you think was going to happen? I mean, seriously, what did you think was going to happen?
We're an organization that collects money to give money away. Don't you think that I'm going to get my pound of flesh?
Exactly, or 2 or 3. I mean, because it was a stupid amount of money that she was making, and they came under fire with
Red Cross.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Goodwill.
Yeah.
Go into all of them. Was the Sarah Cannon the
I don't think I've heard about that one.
Oh yeah, the pink, all the pink stuff. Oh dude, man, the amount of money that goes into that, as opposed to the amount of money that actually goes to people, is just it should be criminal. honestly.
Wow.
And especially and especially the fact that they have they have links with Major League Baseball and National Football League and the WWE and like all these big sporting things where every like October they have their pink whatever and it's big deal, and there are billions of dollars that flood into them, and it's a trickle coming back out to the people who need it, and it's just. But it's not just them; it's a whole bunch of those nonprofits. That's Autism Speaks has had all kinds of problems with that kind of stuff. The Wounded Warrior Project we've talked about before, where they recently had problems with their CEOs, and there's a bunch of people that it's all stuff that we want to support. It's because it's like, that's
a good cause.
They're all good causes, but then you start looking into what's going in as opposed to what's coming out, and it's I don't want to give you a bunch of money to pay your administrative call.
I think one of the best ones out there, for what I've seen for money going in to money going out, I think it was like Salvation Army. Yeah,
Salvation Army is the best one of all of those. About the amount, like. It's legit, like over 50% of the money that goes in comes back out to the people who need it.
Yeah, because you are going to have
like Goodwill. Goodwill is like in like the single digit percentages of money that comes back out. That's why I won't give them anything. I refuse. I will find some. We used to have a Salvation Army store over here, and it closed last year when everything else closed.
Yeah,
but it was one of those things that I would go and drop stuff to them because I knew that.
Goodwill wasn't going to do it.
Goodwill's just going to keep, they're pocketing. And also the fact, man, Goodwill, get into what Goodwill does, like as far as like their hiring practices. They have this big push about like, hiring people with disabilities, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, since they're classified as a nonprofit, they can hire people and pay them, and it comes out to like they're making like less than $1 an hour.
What?
Yes. And it's because of some loophole. They don't have to pay them anywhere close to minimum wage to work there, and
that should be absolutely.
It criminal. Absolutely should be. And there's been a lot of people who have brought that kind of stuff up. Like, how do you get away with this? But yeah. So it's just
that's straight up taking advantage of people that you claim to be helping.
Exactly. And it's downright criminal. Some of the stuff that they get away with. And I'm just like, man, and I don't care. I don't care that I'm calling them out here. Because that's stuff that people should look at and say, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of
do your research on the places that you're going to do your donations.
I will put the videos up for this. I'll put the receipts up for it. Okay, to let you know what's going on. And don't get me wrong, Salvation Army has their own issues. Depending on
no entity that's put together by humans is going to be without issues.
Exactly.
Because let's we all basically suck at some level or another.
Because humans are all terrible.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
And
we got to get the Gen X viewpoint in there.
It's true.
People
suck.
People
including
suck.
us. It's like we suck just as much as anybody else. Somebody's going to isolate that and put it out there, I'm sure. So
it'll probably be Corey on his podcast.
But yeah, it's not trying to bring you guys down because it's.
Oh, by the way, you can ISO this one too, Corey. You suck.
Yeah, there you go. But anyways, So anything going on like pop culture wise that we need to cover?
No, I don't.
Have you seen any movies?
It's kind of dead right now.
Yeah, I've been to the movies several times.
I know this has been covered on. Probably a ton of people know about this, but I have discovered Plex Media Server.
Oh yeah, Dave's on the play. I'm like, I knew about this years ago.
I had no idea that this even existed. And I was like, what do you mean I can build my own Netflix out of my own movies and put all my music on it and have access to it, and plus free streaming TV and
and you're just now discovering it.
I'm just now discovering it.
It's like, welcome to the party. I've known about it for a long time. I personally don't have a Plex account, but
then again, I've been physical media, my entire life, and I still believe in physical media. It's just I'm taking my physical media and converting it to digital so I can watch it on my phone.
We know somebody that's been doing that for about 5 years now, and
I need help. I need some pointers.
And that's his was really the first time I ever heard about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty interesting, and so I kind of started looking into it. It's like, I mean, I had to like kind of build my own media server, and I'm like, but now I'm kind of like, no, I can do that.
No, I didn't even
totally do that.
I didn't even do that.
Yeah.
I've got my PC that I've got at the house. I just loaded it on there, and then pointed the media server to my videos folder and my iTunes folder,
right,
and it immediately went oh, I found all this stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yes, all in one place.
And so I'm not, I can watch the stuff.
It's all downloadable.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
downloadable if you subscribe to one of the tiers of subscription they've got.
Yeah.
And they've got one that's like,
but your own stuff though, isn't it downloadable?
No,
it's not. Okay.
No. At least I haven't been able to figure out how to do it if it is. But they've got one that's like, I think it's like $120 for a lifetime subscription. And it gives you access to everything.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's not honestly, that's not bad. I mean, especially we start looking into,
Yeah. Now they've got
you
some
start
other,
looking into how much money you actually wound up spending.
Yeah.
On subscription services. The whole thing was like, hey, we're gonna get rid of cable, and we can just go to subscription services, and all of a sudden it's like I'm paying as much for all these subscription services as I was for cable.
I'm paying for all those subscription services plus cable.
Yeah, well, see, I don't have cable at all.
Well, it's tied into my phone and internet.
Oh, okay.
So,
but it's even that I've cut back quite a bit. I mean, honestly, the only service that I still pay for, like a monthly service, is Peacock. And that's WWE Network is on there. And I'll be honest, it's one of those things that the WWE here lately, I really kind of got to the point where I'm like, do I really want to keep watching this? Because AEW is so much better. Oh, I got Dave onto AEW finally.
You're an evil man for introducing me to AEW, because I feel like I have discovered the WCW all over
I know.
again.
Especially the fact that they have so many ties to it.
Wolfpack, baby.
Yeah,
Wolfpack.
I mean, having Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone and you've got Arn Anderson and Sting and Tully Blanchard and Jake Roberts is over there, and DDP makes his appearance.
Diamond Dallas shows up over there.
It's just
Chris Jericho is half owner.
So I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, there's a lot of. Oh, of course. Dusty's kids are both over, both
Cody and can't think of his name right now.
Goldust.
CM Punk is there now.
CM Punk's over there.
Bryan Danielson's over there now.
Ruby Soho came over.
Yeah.
Adam Cole,
baby.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been one of those like. Of course, you got John Moxley over there. I mean, it's like all these people that are just like, you mean there's an alternative to WWE?
Christian Cage is over there.
Christian Cage is, yep.
The Jurassic duo's over there.
Okay. All right. Jurassic, Luchasaurus.
Yes.
So, yes, Jurassic. And then Jungle Boy.
Yes.
Do you know who Jungle Boy is?
He looks familiar, but I can't place it.
His name... His Jungle Jack Perry.
Oh, okay.
It's Luke Perry's son.
Yeah.
And it's and he does every once in a while. It's like, oh, dude, he looks so much like his dad, And but that it's kind of cool to see all of them. And
the
of course,
athleticism on.
Well, I mean, you got Kenny Omega.
Folks?
You got all of these like New Japan guys that came.
Oh,
over,
the New Japan guys are amazing.
And the Young Bucks, Minoru Suzuki is over. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like. And of course, you've got they have a partnership with. Now we're really geeking out. They've got a partnership with not just New Japan, but they also have a partnership with Impact.
Yeah.
Because Christian Cage is actually the Impact World Heavyweight Champion, but he's actually an AEW guy. But it's funny because like before that, Kenny Omega was both the AEW champion and the Impact champion.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where they've done so much as far as, and they've even had the like some of the NWA people coming through, because Billy Corgan owns the NWA. He has for several years now.
The cross promotion that they're doing with
great.
All the different wrestling coalitions.
Basically everybody except for WWE is what it comes down to. Now Ring of Honor, I don't know that they may eventually do something with Ring of Honor. The problem there is that, and I don't know all the legalities on this, is that WWE has some kind of or at least had some kind of deal with Ring of Honor for their back catalog. Like you could actually watch their stuff on the
Ring of Honor stuff
on the WWE network, but they don't own anything Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have like a partial owner, stake in it or anything.
So
that kind of
maybe
stuff.
they're licensing.
It seems like that might have been what was going on, but I don't know if that ended with the Peacock or the Peacock deal or what. It's such a weird It's such a weird thing the way that some of this stuff has worked over the years with this licensing. Different like some of the independent stuff. But we've also seen like WWE basically just completely just like, for lack of a better word, shit canned NXT and started over again. Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, rather than having another brand, they decided they wanted to make it actual development, which is the way it started off to begin with, which is all well and good, except for the fact that everything that's coming out of there is basically saying Vince McMahon doesn't like the fact that the indie style of wrestling is becoming so big, and so he's trying to put a stop to it in his organization.
He's trying to go back to the monsters,
the big monsters,
and
it's like
intimidation and more acting instead of. That's the whole
instead
point.
Of wrestling.
All of these guys that are coming over from WWE are like, I'm a wrestler.
Exactly, because
we're going to wrestle.
For years now, it has been. I mean, you are not allowed to say professional wrestling, especially on mic. It's sports entertainment,
right?
And these guys are like,
I'm an entertainer.
Right,
you can't sing worth a crap,
right,
dude. I've heard you sing.
Yeah, and it's so all these guys who have gone over are like, no, I am a professional wrestler. This is CM Punk being one of the biggest ones. That was when he came back. In his promo, he talked about
Daniel Bryanson did the same
thing.
But
the thing is he came over, and one of the first things he said, he's like, in 2005 when I left Ring of Honor, I left professional wrestling, and now I'm back.
Yeah,
basically saying all those years I spent in WWE was not professional wrestling, because that was the thing he used to always say. I am the best wrestler on this in this lineup, basically, and he used to get in trouble for it all the time.
Oh yeah,
and it was just like, just embrace it, just embrace it. So, I'm really surprised we haven't had just like a wrestling episode where we talk just wrestling.
We can't do that unless we have two other people on this show.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's true. I mean,
we would have to have Barry back.
Yes, because Barry is a huge professional wrestling fan,
and then we would have to have the Travis.
Oh yeah, yes, we would have to have Travis Reed.
Yeah, the Travis Reed.
He
from the Everyman Joe Show.
Everyday Joe Show.
Everyday Joe Show.
Guys, go check out Everyday Joe Show if you haven't. A friend of mine, Travis, that I've known for I don't know how long now, but it's one of those things. He was a friend of a friend that he played in my fantasy football league for a lot of years, and then we got to be friends, through all that, and it was kind of cool because like he started originally talking about putting together the Everyday Joe Show, and I kind of pointed him in direction for a few things because I had done a previous podcast of like, hey, this is so you can do this, and blah blah blah. But that's it. I mean, I wasn't like responsible for any. I was just like, just go check this stuff out, and whatever. And they've built that into something really good, down in Tullahoma.
They've got a great following.
And
they got
I think
a huge
they're actually
following.
He's on the radio now, and I mean, so it's really cool that they're doing what they're doing. And of course, he's really huge into wrestling. We stopped by there on the way down.
Yes, we did.
And Dave got like a full like, oh wow, he's really into this.
It's impressive, actually.
It really is.
I'm not even gonna lie.
Really cool,
it's impressive, actually. They've got a killer setup down there. But if we're gonna do a show on wrestling, we're gonna have to get those two guys in here, and then I'm gonna sit back over here on the mixing board, and I'm gonna let you three roll with it.
Yeah, that's true. That is a, and it's funny because both of them, like as big into it as I am, they could both like just talk me under the table.
I'm so going to be on the fringe of that conversation because I'm a casual follower of wrestling. I've followed it since I was a kid.
Right.
I
did too.
The
Hogan and all that stuff.
Snuka
and Macho Man and Piper and all those, and Andre
Sheik
and Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, Jake the Snake, all those. That golden era of WWF.
The Barber.
Yeah, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. that golden era of the WWF,
Yeah.
from the 80s into the very early 90s, Ultimate Warrior, all that stuff, was...
And in my Ultimate Guy, I remember when Taker showed up.
Yeah, see, that was about the time that I stopped watching wreshling.
I was not
or at least
really...
stopped watching WWF.
I was not really watching it anymore.
Right.
And then one night, or whenever it happened, all of a sudden there's this guy.
He made his debut on... I think that he made his debut on Superstars or something, one of those. But his official, when they went back, they were talking about 30 years of The Undertaker was at Survivor Series in 1990.
Yeah,
because last year was the 30th anniversary.
It's like he came out, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah. Well,
I haven't seen anything like this before.
I remember him when he was Mean Mark Callis in the WCW. When he was part of the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
It was him and Dan Spivey.
Yeah.
And then actually the original Twin Towers was Dan Spivey and Sid Vicious, and then Vicious left and went somewhere else, and then they brought in Mark Callis.
Yeah.
And of course, his real name is Mark Calloway, and he was Mean Mark Callis, and then he went over and became The Undertaker. I was like, oh, I recognize that guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll be honest, the first time I saw that gimmick, I was like, this isn't going to last. Boy, was I wrong.
Yo, you were so wrong. And I'm glad that, was it Jimmy Hart that was his original manager?
No,
it was what was his, the big
red,
red,
before Paul Bearer?
Yeah, before Paul Bearer. It's the big red-faced guy that always wore the pink suit and the blonde slick back hair with the, what was that guy's name? That's going to drive me crazy now.
That one up. Was it Bobby Heenan?
Yeah, that's what.
Bobby
Yeah,
Heenan was his original. Okay.
Yeah,
I love Bobby Heenan.
I can't stand that guy.
I know, that's why I love him so much, because he was so good. He was somebody you wanted to hate. That means he was good.
Right.
It's like,
but Paul Bearer was such a better fit for that.
Yeah, but I remember when he was it Percy Pringle, I think was his name before that, in the AWA and a couple things. And again, you see these guys move from company to company. Especially back. I used to watch on Saturdays, man, when I was really into wrestling. Like,
you're talking about the show that was shot down at the fairgrounds?
Well, there was that one also, but that was Memphis Wrestling is basically what it was.
Yeah.
It was a CWA around here is what it was called, Championship Wrestling Association. And but it was that was the Jerry Lawler and the Bill Dundee and Jeff Jarrett got his start there, and
Gorilla. Was Gorilla Monson over there for a little while?
I'm trying to think who else. There was a bunch of people that came. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert was one of the big ones down there. And I can't remember the other dude's name. There was a bunch of that, and that was the whole, like, what Andy Kaufman went through in the late 70s, early 80s. With his old deal with Lawler and all that kind of stuff. But it was, Jimmy Jimmy Hart came through there.
Yeah,
that's where he got his start. But I would get up on Saturday morning and would basically chase wrestling around the dial.
Channels. Yeah.
I mean, and this is in the days before cable. Okay, so it was one of those things that we had, like, our three, your ABC, NBC, CBS, but it was the UHF channels.
Yep.
Because we had Channel 17, we had Channel 30, and we had Channel 39.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were all UHF, just showing whatever they could get.
Yep.
And
that's where I found a lot of the samurai movies. That's where I found a lot of the monster movies.
Same here. And so
that's where the wrestling was at.
That was a Channel 17,
which eventually became Fox.
It didn't start off. Fox actually started off on Channel 30 to begin with, and then it switched to 17 eventually. But that was one of the things. They would show Superstars on Saturday mornings and then Sunday mornings also. And so it was one of those things. I would watch that, but then I literally could watch all the other stuff as well. Like, about the only thing I didn't get around here was AWA, because that was on ESPN. They had an ESPN contract. They would show in the afternoons. I remember seeing that some, like, because I didn't have cable in my room, but I would, like, sometimes in the afternoons flip over there. But I would see, what would eventually become WCW was Georgia Championship Wrestling at the time, or NWA, and so they had a couple of shows. I would see WCCW out of Texas, that was the Von Erichs, and
I forgot about the Von
Erichs. I would see the CWA out of Memphis, with all those guys, and then they also would show Glow. And I watched that when it was on.
I don't remember Glow.
Yeah, I do. And so it was one of those things that
CWA, I do remember
stuff.
because that was what we could get in Kentucky out of Nashville.
Right.
And I remember being, we'd go over to my grandmother's on Saturday. She had cable.
Oh, wow.
So you could actually, I could actually get that, because the cable company was feeding it straight to her house, and doom, doom, doom.
Oh, I know. I know. See that statue rotating? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, and of course it was just low. I mean, it was such bad TV
and you think we're geeking out over it? Wait till we get the other two up here,
man.
We won't get a word in edgewise.
We still have a local organization that wrestles around here, and
no, we have several. Actually,
we have several. And it's funny because a friend of mine.
There's a couple out of Clarksville.
Well, there was one at the fairgrounds. I don't know if there is any longer. There was one at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
That was local. Of course, TNA started here. Like that was they originally started at the fairgrounds. Of course, they. Don't even get me started.
Well, that was Jeff Jarrett's
It was
outfit.
Jeff Jarrett. It was after WCW folded, and they kind of pulled everybody else that didn't go to WWE.
And it was like an octagon instead of a ring.
Yeah, it was a hexagon. Yeah,
okay.
And it was one of those things that and some good AJ Styles came through there, and there were several people that went through there, and of course eventually. They tried the whole WCW thing again of bringing in all these Hall and Nash and Hogan and all these different people, and it just didn't work out. And I'll be honest, I didn't watch any of that stuff.
But we've still got some of the little bitty smaller
ones. Exactly.
I know there's one in Clarksville,
right?
And occasionally we've got a distillery in a little town that's just north of my house, and occasionally they'll set up a ring in the parking lot of the distillery. Once a year and do a big match,
and
which is really nice.
I still see promotional material for local, and they'll get a name through every once in a while. Usually it's somebody that hasn't wrestled in the big leagues in a while. I know Greg. What's his name? Greg. Is it Greg Valentine? Yeah, Greg the Hammer Valentine has come through here a couple of times. I remember back years ago, Piper being here,
really,
as a one-off, a one-night thing,
That would have been cool.
Yeah, and I wish I could.
Piper was one of my favorites.
I've seen Piper in person before, wrestling. I actually saw him at a pay-per-view wrestling.
Oh, really?
Nashville.
Nice.
Yeah, it was Starrcade '96 was at Municipal Auditorium. It's when he fought Hogan after the whole NWO thing.
Oh, gotcha.
And
I went to a couple of those NWO shows.
Yeah,
when they came to town.
Yeah, and that was
actually
was cool.
What's embarrassing is somewhere there's video of me with there was three of us. We painted our chests in the big NWO. And
that's nice.
Let's hope that video never surfaces.
It's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Our listeners. There is your that's your task for the week. Try to find this video.
I can't believe I let those guys talk me into that.
I wound up on a local, and this is again going back to 2008 or 9. I think it was 8 maybe.
Yeah.
Because a friend of mine was dating one of those guys in a local promotion here,
Okay.
And she got me and Maeve, my friend Maeve. We went out and watched one of the shows, and said, of course, we were sitting right at the ringside. And this one guy, I forget what his name was, came around. He kept getting people to get up and went during his entrance and stuff. And of course, he comes right over to me, and I'm like, no, I am not getting, and he was very persistent that, I stand up or whatever. And wouldn't you know it wound up on television. And I happened to catch it. That was the funny thing, is I was flipping through the channels one day, and I'm like, hey, oh, no. Yes, there it is. Damn it. Because it was one of those. They were on one of the UHF channels here in Nashville.
Of course, that was going to end up on TV because you were being so contrary,
exactly.
and you weren't
not wanting anything to do with this whatsoever.
You became part of the show because you would do what he wanted you to do.
Exactly. So, but yeah, it's and the whole thing with Travis. Travis actually wrestled a match a few years ago. And I know he's retired now because he had, not because of that. I mean, he had some some kind. He had to have surgery, and they basically said you can't do that kind of stuff any longer.
Oh.
You know, and it was just like, all right, you know. But I know he was really into it, and we've talked about it before. I really wanted to be a wrestler when I was young. You know, I wish I'd gotten into it. You know, but it's still one of those things that I knew that it was like, because it's one of those things you have to look at it the way that. Like anything else, you know, it's kind of like playing music. You have to do it because you love it, not because you want to be a star. You know, it's that, and that's the whole thing. Is that was in the era of that was making superstars, you know, and it was like, oh yeah, you could be somebody that goes out there and just gets beat up every night and you know make your money or whatever. But that's about as far as you're going to go.
You're going to end up a worker,
exactly. You know, and you know maybe smaller promotions. That was also before all the indie stuff took off, you know. I mean, like now I look at it like, dude, you know, you could do well in the indie circuit, you know. And it's kind of cool to see that. But I always you know what I always really wanted to be though in professional wrestling.
Oh, here we go.
I always wanted to be a manager.
A manager?
Yeah, I mean, because that's one of the things.
You've got a mouth on you.
Exactly, and that is, and I have said that before. I do when I put my mouth in gear. I can make an entire arena hate me with very, very minimal words. And that's what it comes down to. If you're going to be a manager, you have to be able to draw heat.
Hence why I can barely get a word in edgewise on the podcast here. It's work to be able to get to say something.
Exactly. There you go. So, but yeah. Anyway, so I guess we're at about an hour now. So I think we've probably done enough. We've talked enough to get this episode out. And
so okay. So we promoted all of Oktoberfest.
Yes, we did.
We complained about the lottery. Well, we talked about the lottery. We complained about Goodwill.
We complained about several nonprofits.
Yeah, we did.
Several nonprofits.
We praised the Salvation Army for doing good stuff. We've talked about wrestling,
and that's pretty much it. And I had to get snacks for my kid.
Yeah.
So I think that's a well-rounded show right there. Is what that is. You don't get this anywhere else.
You can't get much more Gen X than that. That's as random as it comes.
I mean, we start talking about supermodels or something. You know, it's like
oh, supermodels.
Yeah, we could do that one. We could do a supermodel episode one of these days because yes. We all had our favorite supermodels.
I don't want to talk about supermodels. I just want to sit around and look at supermodels.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So it's
all I got to say is the George Michael video.
The video, the Freedom 90 video.
Yeah, Freedom 90.
Cindy Crawford, Christy Turlington, Linda Evangelista.
There you go. There you go.
And my girl, Naomi.
Yes,
Naomi Campbell.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you had Marcus Schinkler, is that his last name? Whatever it was in that also, which he was like he was basically the male equivalent of the supermodel, and. But
but Evangeline and
I love all of them. But like I said, I will always I can close my eyes now and see Naomi Campbell, in silhouette with those big headphones on, in combat boots and a long silk like sheer skirt, dancing and singing to that, and I'm just like, that's all I need right there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, and on that note, so I'm sure you all wanted that visual in your head. So
Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest is coming here in just a few days.
2 episodes this week.
Yes, 2. You'll have 2 all the way through October, and then we'll go back to our normal where we get to.
So hit us up on email. Hit us up on Instagram. Facebook is back and active again. We've
Facebook took off all of a sudden.
Yeah, all of a sudden we've got all kinds of active traffic going on over there. So thank you guys for that. And last but not least, come to Discord.
Absolutely.
Come hang out with us on Discord.
And there are links to all of that in our show notes. Yeah. So all you got to do is just go over there and click on it, and you're good to go.
We got a problem with the Facebook because
there shouldn't be.
It does not provide a link. It just says Discord, Instagram, whatever.
Yeah, it should be a link.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
I'll have to go look at that then.
Yeah, it's not working.
Maybe it's not working on yours because you've talked about stuff not working on yours before that has worked everywhere else.
I'm just telling you, it's not working for me.
Well, that should be the name of your autobiography if you ever read it. So if you ever write it. So. Just not working for me.
I wish I could say you were wrong.
See, there's hyperlinks on all that stuff.
No, I'm talking about when you post it to Facebook. When it hits Facebook, it doesn't translate over.
Oh, well, there could be. Well, you're already at Facebook. You don't need a link to Facebook.
Yeah, but the Discord simply says Discord, and there's no link to it. You're just clicking on a word that says Discord.
If you're in a podcast aggregator somewhere, or if you go over to, where do we post all this stuff? Podbean. I think that the links are all there as well. So,
cool.
So yeah, and we're also on YouTube. There's also that. If that's where you want to listen / watch, even though there's not anything to watch, it's just a static photo of whatever episode and audio.
Yep.
But some people can consume that way. One of our episodes did really well over there. I was really surprised with. I was like, "Dang, we were not getting that much traffic, and then all of a sudden, this one just exploded."
Yep.
But it didn't translate into anything else. So.
People just love that movie.
Yeah, it was our Terminator 2
episode.
It was just one of those. It's like, you've got to be kidding. Matter of fact, it's still getting views. So I was just like, I don't get it, and the rest of our stuff is just kind of middling around over there. So I'm like, all right, so. Maybe we need to do more Schwarzenegger stuff or something. So
get to the chopper.
There you go. So on that note, I am Alan Smith.
I'm the other guy, and I'm back. I'm Big Dave.
And we will see you Friday.
Later.